The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to Foodie Down Bronx. I'm your host, M, the Hungry Dominican. On this edition of Foodie Down Bronx, we're talking Caribbean and healthy foods with two special guests that I need you guys to definitely stick around for. So if you like to eat, stay tuned. From Bronx into the world, this is Foodie Down Bronx. Welcome once again to Foodie Down Bronx. Make sure you stay connected to us on Instagram at BronxNetTV, at Foodie Down Bronx, and make sure to follow me at the Hungry Dominican. On today's show, we'll be talking to April Agosto from La Cocinita de Maria Juana and Mary Vin Rose, who some of you might know as the host of BronxNet's former show, Healthy Living in the Bronx, who is on here today with an announcement so big, I might just have to tweet about it. But before all that, let's do what we do at the top of every show. Let's get into this week's Chew News. Bronx Health Reach and the Institute for Family Health held a campaign for a healthy Bronx called the #Not62 Rally. At this rally, which took place at City Hall, Bronxites and organizers demanded Mayor de Blasio prioritize the Bronx in all areas, including health, housing, and economic opportunities. As you may know, since 2009, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation County Health Ranking has ranked the Bronx 62 out of New York State's 62 counties in health outcomes. In response to this, several groups have come together with Bronx residents to build a collaborative effort to improve the health of our borough. If you'd like to sign a group petition for a healthy Bronx, visit tinyurl.com/not62petition and follow at BronxNot62 on Instagram for more information. As much as 40% of all food produced in the United States goes to waste, amounting to more than 133 billion pounds of food. Now dairy farmers in Massachusetts are now using the state's food waste to create electricity. According to an NPR report in collaboration with PBS NewsHour, these farmers are feeding waste into a special machine called an anaerobic digester that grinds up everything from bones to whole fish and vegetables. Frying fats and greases then captures the methane emissions and makes renewable energy in exchange. The wasted food is collected from stores around the state, including Whole Foods. This method has been used for decades around the globe, notably in Europe. Massachusetts has a state law prohibiting the disposal of commercial organic waste, including food by businesses and institutions that generate at least 1 ton of waste per week. This has created an incentive for food businesses to participate in the Waste to Energy initiative, helping the state reduce its carbon footprint. Millions of Americans who rely on food stamps may be at risk of losing their benefits, according to NBC. The Trump administration proposed 3 rule changes that could cause millions of SNAP recipients to lose access to food stamps and decrease the benefit for millions more. The Department of Agriculture proposed 3 changes to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP, creating stricter work environments for eligibility, cap deductions for utility allowances, and reform on the way 40 states automatically enroll families of need in SNAP when they receive other forms of federal aid. The study held by Urban Institute examined said rules and determined that 3.7 million fewer people would receive SNAP, 2.2 million households would see their monthly benefits drop by $127, more than 3 million others would see an average drop of $37, and thousands of students would also lose access to free or reduced lunches. According to this map by the Food Pantry of New York, 31% of SNAP recipients in 2018 resided right here in the Bronx, with the largest percentage in Concourse, Highbridge, and University Heights section. All right, guys, that is this week's Chew News, giving you a little food for thought. Foodie Down Bronx, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Foodie Down Bronx. I'm your host, M, the Hungry Dominican. La Cocinita de Maria Juana is the brainchild of my first guest. It started as a platform that would enable her to educate, unite, and empower her community, all while remaining committed to her core values of keeping her culture alive, one bite at a time. Joining us now to discuss La Cocinita de Maria Juana is founder April Agosto.
Thank you.
Hello, April.
Hello.
Thank you for appearing on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So this is a really interesting endeavor. So as I said in the intro, you wanted to create a platform where you could really push the message of your culture.
Yes.
And when did you actually get the inspiration to do so?
Started about a year ago. So I was playing around with some medicinal properties on my fire escape.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my mom said I couldn't
Where
cook.
all dreams start.
Yeah, my mom said I couldn't cook in her kitchen. You know how Spanish moms are. So I just bought a crock pot, conventional oven, and I just started messing around with it, and it worked. Started giving it to my family, friends, and went from there.
What kind of recipes did you use? Did you take like mom's recipes?
Mom's,
Or
all of her recipes.
All of her recipes.
Everything's hers.
Oh, really? So everything that I see on Instagram, everything that you
I stole
offer
it
people,
from her.
it's all mom's recipes.
It's all mom.
How does she feel about that? She was flattered, I'm assuming.
She's like, it's not that good. I'm like, well, yes, it is.
She was
So
being
it
humble
works.
about it.
Yeah, supposedly.
So you started a year ago, and tell me the journey, because now we're at the end of 2019. We're going
Yes.
to 2020.
Yeah.
How have you seen your business grow?
It's been a beautiful journey. I've hosted a few events, which have been highlights. So my first event was the Melting Pot, and it was a multicultural event. We brought up different vendors. We had different artists, whether they did poetry, rap, and they performed. We had 2 salsa dancers, so that was great. And it was just a way to bring our community together where they can just enjoy one another. That was great. Then my last one, so the last one for 2019 was Un Ratito Contigo, and it was a speed meet network. So the idea was to use the resources that we already have in the Bronx. So you hear a lot of networking, but you hear it a lot in like downtown or business or real estate, but nothing really in the Bronx where you can create your own resources or you can just chat it up with the person next to you and you don't even know what they're doing. I'm shy, so networking has always been difficult for me. So I was like, speed meet, why not? So you had about 3 minutes less to speak to someone, introduce your business or what you can do for them, whether it was partying, whether it was photography, whether it was cooking. We had yoga instructors, like it was really dope. And they just got to know one another and it created a space where it was vulnerable. You could be vulnerable, you could be yourself, and you could just introduce yourself and what you can offer to those around you, your community, your neighbors.
So tell me a little bit about your shyness, because you've put yourself out there in a very public way. The first thing with your business, and now you're on social media and you're hosting events. Were you trying to challenge yourself?
No, I'm an Aries. So we take things head on.
I see.
So regardless of what the obstacle may be, I just move forward. I got to do it. It's not for me. I kind of tell myself that I'm creating a conversation that's needed within my own community. So I'm just here. I'm a puppet, basically,
I see.
for
You're
the bigger
just like
picture.
the messenger of what
there
needs
we
to come
go.
out there.
There's a bigger picture.
Tell me a little bit about Un Ratito Contigo. You just mentioned having these events, but what was the inspiration to have these events? Again, you said you were shy, and that's also a great way to have other people that may not feel comfortable, just being super open. But when did that idea spark in your head to have that?
Like, I need to create something in my home, in my backyard, where it benefits my community. That's kind of where that started, and where it kind of went from there.
It's amazing. So tell me a little bit about your use of, or I should say, medicinal foods, right? You do, well, I'd rather have you explain exactly what the angle of your food is.
So we use medicinal properties, which is something, how do I explain this? We use medicinal properties to start a conversation at home. So education. Education starts with a conversation. If you come home to your mom with our amazing spring rolls,
which I will be having very shortly, yes.
and they have medicinal properties, she's more likely to try that than if you were to bring her a oil tincture, let's say. She's going to be like, ay, no, que es esto? No, thank you,
Right.
yada, yada.
The understanding is not there. of what
Exactly.
it is, right?
So I started it at home with my own mom and kind of messing around with that and like, well, try this, you never know. And I suffer from migraines myself, so it helped me with my migraines. And then she's always complaining about a back pain or a shoulder pain.
Right.
So we started off with like different teas and things like that. And then now she eats pasteles en hoja that have medicinal
Without
properties
question,
in
right?
it. Without question. She's like, let me get it.
Did you find it, so did it start off as more of a personal journey, you know, since you were dealing with some physical pain and you had seen that maybe some family members were dealing with it as well? Was that sort of the inspiration to go that route?
I think it was a mixture of things. It's very important for me to educate my community as a whole, whether it's myself or my family or my neighbor. Just education is very important. I think is what we lack the most. So I think a mixture of not only myself, but just everyone around me. I work with the TBI patients, so I see their pain on a daily, and they don't have the education for these medicinal benefits. Like I've had them come up to me like, my doctor suggested this, and I can't do that. Like that's against. And it's like, well, let me talk to you about it. Like let's have a conversation. Let's talk about what does it include, what is it going to do, how is it going to affect you. And a lot of them are just like, oh wow, I never knew that. Like I will try it. So just education.
And because we're in New York, you of course you've seen those limitations of what these medicinal properties, what you're allowed to sort of do with them.
Yes.
Right? And actually, I want you to mention what you do for your sort of main job, because it's so interesting and it connects I think pretty closely to you having your business. So what is it that you do exactly?
So I'm an assistant cognitive therapist. So we deal with a lot of TBI patients. So they've had traumatic brain injuries, and it affects their cognitive abilities. So whether it's memory, visual spatial skills, verbal fluency, things like that. And then a lot of patients look for the medicinal properties for the physical pain. It can also help with anxiety and depression, which TBI patients deal a lot with.
Right. And again, going back to how you sort of, I guess, infuse it with your business. What is the reaction that you get from people who try out your food? What's the sort of, I guess, the initial reaction?
It's just like, wow, you sure this has anything in it? You wouldn't know. Are you sure this is good? They wouldn't know. They're really surprised. I've had chefs try and they're just like chewing on it. And I'm like, are you looking for something? And they're just like, I'm just surprised. It tastes like, and it's like, yeah, that's the point.
It's a very subtle flavor.
It's very subtle. You can't taste it. It's just for you to enjoy. The concept was, you get to have your grandmother's cooking with some medicinal properties in it.
Yeah, I saw a picture on your Instagram of mango.
Yes.
And I was looking at it and I was like, is it or is it not?
It
But
is.
I'm assuming it is.
It is. It definitely is. Mango we've done. So this is vegan actually. This was one of my
let's talk about these
greatest
right here.
creation.
So what are these exactly?
So it's vegan spring rolls and they're stuffed with sweet plantains and vegetables.
Okay. These are not.
They're not. Enjoy.
not.
You
Okay.
can. Don't
All right,
worry.
let me take a quick bite.
Yes. Go ahead. Let me know.
My crew always wants to see me. So.
Feel it crunchy.
That's very crunchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is all for all you SMR lovers. That's very good.
Thank you.
Give me 1 second.
No problem. Take your time.
I wish it were a little bit warmer.
I know. I'm sorry.
No. It's not even your fault.
Out.
This is the fact that we had this out for so long, but this is really amazing.
Thank you.
Tell me about any more food events you might have coming up.
So we're definitely gonna do some more Un Ratito Contigo.
Okay,
We've gotten
perfect.
great feedback, so that we're hoping to do that every 6 months.
Okay.
I would love to do another melting pot as well. That was great. And then I'm just looking to do. I haven't explored yet. I want to do so much that I don't know where to start.
Of course.
That's been my problem.
Well, at least you have the aspirations to do so, and
Thank you.
and if you keep giving everyone what you're giving them, you might just have the energy.
I hope
Or
so.
everyone has the energy to
I
do
hope.
it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys, stay connected with April at La Cocinita, the MJ on Instagram. All right, guys, grab yourselves a snack, perhaps one of these if you're so lucky to. Foodie Down Bronx will be right back. back to Foodie Down Bronx. I'm your host, M, the Hungry Dominican. Joining us now is a very special guest with an announcement so big, I actually sent out a tweet about it earlier in the show. And if you're a frequent viewer of BronxNet, you'll recognize her as the host of the show Healthy Living in the Bronx that formerly aired right here on this network. And after having just one meal with me so far, she's already called me silly, so she totally gets me. Welcome to the show, Marivan Rose.
Yay! I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for showing up today.
I hope so.
I am. Well, we're going to keep the big announcement till the end of the interview,
Okay.
but I'm actually really, really happy that you're here. So tell me a little bit about your show that used to air on here.
Yes.
Because I saw the Instagram and I started watching all of the YouTube clips and all of the Instagram posts, and healthy living is something that I don't do quite well. So tell me a bit about the show.
So Healthy Living in the Bronx was a limited cable series that we created to highlight people and organizations that were helping Bronx residents live a healthier life. Every single one of my guests were either from the Bronx or they service Bronx residents. And our topics range from acupuncture to why massage therapy isn't a luxury and mental health, how to end like toxic relationships, the impacts of social media on either dating or just our mental health in general. So it was a wide range of topics, which I really loved about the show. We didn't just cover one particular topic.
I'm assuming that a lot of those topics, well, I don't want to assume, but I'm guessing that they were somewhat personal to you. Like, did you create the show based on sort of your own experiences or on your friends' experiences, or did you just want to sort of cover an array of topics in general?
It was a little bit of both. So what happened, I actually was in an accident in early 2018, and I was in the midst of like taking a production course. And when I was challenged by my professor, Miss Ortiz, she said, you know, if you had to come up with a show in 24 hours, what would it be? And I realized, like, because of my accident, I was struggling trying to find holistic ways of healing because I was taking like really heavy doses of like either oxycodone or like I was like, I can't do this anymore. My body's not working. So then I started to do research on about acupuncture. And I'm like, if I'm struggling to try to find these resources in my community, I'm quite sure other people are as well. Right. And that's what came to me. I was like, healthy living in the Bronx. I'm quite sure there's people here who have the same exact questions as me, who want alternative medicines in conjunction with our conventional forms of healing. I was like, if I'm struggling, I know my people are too. And I wanted something to also change the narrative. I think when you hear Bronx, when you hear it on the news, right, what do we hear? We hear, you know, another shooting, another stabbing, another robbery, or another McDonald's has popped up. Right. But I'm like, I know there's people out here in our community making differences and changes. And one of the things that I've learned is that we're actually the pioneers of like some amazing things like hydroponics. Like I didn't know what that was until I hosted this show. Right. And we have some amazing hydroponics taking place in the South Bronx. And again, like we're the pioneers of hip hop and rap, and people try not to give us our credit, but we're also pioneers in this wellness space as well.
Right, and I think that's one of the most important things that I've tried to push out on this show is that we do have control of our own narrative, and it's all about the content that we choose to create, and that's one of the reasons I loved your platform because it's a very positive show. It's a very positive message that you continue to put out there. So talk to me a little bit about Not 62. I had mentioned in the beginning of this show with Chew News that there was a rally recently.
Yes.
And of course, you also talked about that topic. What are your opinions about how the Bronx is ranked? I mean, I feel like whatever the ranking might be, it does not represent what the Bronx is really about, in my opinion.
I totally agree. Like one of my mission statements is that I'm here to not represent not only the underrepresented, but the misrepresented. I feel like we've been misrepresented in media outlets for so long. There's this constant saying or rumor that the Bronx doesn't want healthier options. And I say it's a lack of resources and education. So yeah, you can come in and give us a farmer's market, but without the educational resources on what to do with these greens or what to do with these potatoes or what to do with them and make them culturally relevant, no, the community is not just going to adapt to anything new. That's common. Like you could take a sociology class 101 and know that's not going to happen. And I think that we are the worthy investment out of all the boroughs. We somehow just keep seeming to be forgotten about. And I'm not sure why when, again, we are the pioneers in so many things.
So tell me some of the sort of the healthy food alternatives that you would recommend to people and maybe you've even learned about when you have the show because, one of the constant conversations I have with people is the idea that, again, the resources aren't there.
Right.
You could live in a certain neighborhood, but you're surrounded by the worst options out there. So what are these alternatives that you would recommend for people?
So some of the alternatives that I recommend for people is just, the biggest one is just starting small. Like, just even before we even dive into like the food piece of it, if we just cut back on our sugary drinks. And I know that's so hard. One of the best investments I made was actually just buying a water filter. And I know that sounds so trivial and so small to people who are like way advanced in this wellness and health game, but believe it or not, a lot of children, especially in the Bronx, are just not drinking enough water. If we could just cut out the calories, cut out the sugary drinks, that makes a world of difference. And you save a lot of money by putting a water filter right into your tap and not having, soda. Another thing that made a big difference in my life was just meal prepping. Just knowing what I'm cooking and knowing what I'm eating has made such a huge difference in my diet, and not relying on what's right next to me, per se. So you save money, and you're doing something good for the environment as well. Because when you go to, like, let's say a fast food chain or a restaurant, they have, like, it's always wrapped in a lot of plastic and a lot of paper. So, having a container where you go to work and you do it yourself. And the third thing I would also suggest is really just being honest about where you are in your journey. Don't feel the pressure. I know a lot of people think also, some people might be mad at me for saying this, a little controversial, but
Controversy, I love it,
yes,
yes.
right,
Tell
controversy.
me.
I think some people think that automatically, if you just eat just vegetables, then that automatically makes you the healthiest person in the world.
Right.
I think it's a journey. I think you need to understand your body. I think you need to understand what your body needs.
Absolutely.
And that's something I really learned on the show. One of my favorite episodes, I had Wendy Lopez, who's from the Bronx. She has a blog called Food Heaven Made Easy with her partner, Jessica Jones. She's amazing. And she really talked about this thing about intentional eating. And it just means that you're just aware of how you look at your plate. Making your plate plant forward and versus plant backwards. And what I mean by that is just, we used to, in most houses, we go, okay, we have chicken. What are we gonna put with the chicken? Right. Versus, I know that around this time of month, I need a little bit more iron. So I'm gonna have spinach. What am I gonna put with my spinach? Making the spinach the forefront of the plate and the majority of the plate.
Making that the sort of epicenter of
yes.
your meal.
So making fruit and vegetables the majority of my plate has made such a huge difference. So making that transition. I think some people can just go cold turkey and go, okay, I don't want any more meat, I don't want any more processed food, I don't want any more sugar. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Right.
I think finding the small, feasible, actionable things are gonna make, those small daily habits make the biggest difference long term.
Right, it's all about just in increments. Like, you just
Right.
want to take sort of baby steps to having a better lifestyle, as opposed to what I would do is, like, I just wake up the next day and I'm like, all right, day number 1 for my diet, and then of course 3 days later I'm like ordering pizza.
Oh yeah, I used
Right.
to be a great dieter. Like I could diet. Like if I had to get in, like I used to dance, and in college and in high school, and like if I had
so
a
you had to be in
costume-
shape like super quick
Oh
for some
yeah,
things,
so if I
right?
needed to be in shape, I knew how to quick diet.
okay.
And I realized it just wasn't sustainable.
Right.
And it was actually doing more damage than anything. It was causing me to get migraines, it was causing me to get sick, and it just wasn't, that yo-yo situation is just never
Right.
good.
So what type of diet or lifestyle do you live now? Are you vegetarian, pescatarian? Are you omnivore?
You
Are
know what I am.
I mean, I kind of know.
We're both flexitarian.
That's right, yes.
So the funny thing about that, I thought I was joking when I said that on a wellness panel one time, but it's actually a real thing.
Yes.
So flexitarian is
Yes.
someone who basically, I'm a very active flexitarian in terms of I'm very conscious of not putting meat in at least one meal a day because meat is just so hard for me to digest and process. I try not to eat red meat, like if ever. Only like maybe on a special occasion, it's like really small. And I definitely try to limit my consumption of eggs. So I'm just very conscious about my meat consumption, and I just flex between when
Right,
I choose to
right.
eat meat, when I don't choose to eat meat. But there's weeks where I will actually go without eating meat as well.
I mean, I'll say this: your flex is definitely stronger than mine, because I eat a lot more meat, but I do try to have at home a vegetarian lifestyle at the very least. If I can do a vegan, that's fine, but I try to like not have as much stuff at home that I would have like regularly outside, because, it does. Of course, it affects me. I mean, it affects everyone, and when it comes to meat, especially, it's like so many people don't realize that it takes days for our bodies to process and to break it down. So, we might have had a good steak 2 days ago, but it might be actually in your body still right now. Okay, so before we wrap up, here is the special, super huge announcement. I'm so happy about this. I'm really, really hyped about this. And
Or was it that we match? That's
well,
the super
actually,
big
yes. Let's
announcement?
talk about the fact that you came on here. I'm wearing my gnome sweater, and I'm hitting all the colors that you're rocking,
Yeah,
which
the
is
white,
amazing.
the red, the blue.
Which I think it's beautiful, like synchronicity when it comes to like what we're going to be talking about. So I'm going to hand over the keys to you, and I want you to announce what's
You want
happening.
me to announce
Yes,
it?
because you're the
So-
you're the star. You're the one.
So apparently I'm...
Apparently, it's happening.
No, so it is happening. I'm officially the new addition to Foodie Down Bronx.
Yes.
As the food
Yes.
correspondent.
I love that. I'm so happy about
the
this.
health and wellness food correspondent.
Yes.
I'm really excited about this. One of the reasons why I think this is going to be amazing, I'm, obviously a fan as well, supporter. And I know people are always like DMing you and commenting like, this is great, but we need some healthier options.
Yeah, and I'm like,
And-
delete. Delete.
Now you don't have to delete. You can just say
I'm
tag
kidding.
Mary Van Rose, and I'll step in and maybe hopefully provide a couple of alternatives and a couple of people that I know can support them maybe in their journey to a healthier lifestyle.
Yes.
But
No,
I
I'm
think it's
excited.
about balance. I think
That's what it is.
people gonna see
Actually,
about
it's
balance.
literally about balance. You will be covering the healthier aspect of the Bronx, which will allow me to cover the maybe not so healthier aspect of anywhere I go.
Yes.
Because,
the places that we both love to eat.
yes, right. Because there's so many places in the Bronx that, of course, like many other places, offer you both healthy and
Conventional.
conventional stuff.
Right.
So I'm really excited.
Because I deserve French fries as much as I deserve,
Everyone deserves French fries.
Right. Just
I'm
saying.
excited about this. I really am. Okay, guys, stay connected with our new addition to the show,
Yes.
Mary Van Rose, on Instagram at Mary Van Rose and at Healthy Living in the Bronx. Also, stay tuned for Healthy Bronx Bits with Mary coming soon on Foodie Down Bronx. Bits, is that what we're calling
I
it?
think it's calling Bites.
We're
We'll
gonna-
see.
I
Working
wanna
title.
Go with Bites. Working title. All right, guys, that's all for the show. Thank you again for tuning in, and thank you to our guests today for joining us. Tune in every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. here on BronxNet Optimum 67 and FiOS 33. Also, tune in on the go at BronxNet.org and find us on YouTube. From BronxNet to the world, this is Foodie Down Bronx. I'm your host, M, the Hungry Dominican, reminding you to feed your mind, feed your body, and if you see me coming along, feed me.